Some say they were just trying to prove a point. Others called it a publicity stunt. But no matter how you look at it, these women who competed in men's golf tournaments ignited one of the most controversial chapters in the sport's history. Let's start with a name that most people don't even realize changed the game in the 1940s, the Mildred Babe Zaharias. Well, if you know Babe, you must also know that she was no ordinary golfer. She was a walking, talking sports revolution. Back in 1938, she showed up at the Los Angeles Open, a PGA Tour event, and the girl made history. Yeah, you heard that right. She played in a men's event, and people were like, what on earth? So, in this era, you can imagine girls doing that, but in the 1940s, well, it was a bold move. And the fun part, she wasn't there just to make up the numbers. Babe shot some seriously impressive scores, making the world sit up and ask, wait, a girl in PGA? Can she actually win this thing? Maybe not, but she did win at one thing, leaving people in shock. And it was not the only time she appeared in PGA. Fast forward to 1945, and she's back at it again, going head to head with the guys. For people, this wasn't just about a woman playing golf, it was about challenging the very customs and mindset. Babe wasn't just breaking records, she was setting the stage for everyone who would come after her. On number 2, we have Suzy Whaley. Suzy stepped onto the PGA Tour in 2003 and completely shook things up. How? Well, she became the first woman in over 50 years to qualify for a PGA Tour event through competition. That's right, she earned her spot at the Greater Hartford Open by winning the PGA National Club Professional Championship. Amazing, right? No special invites, no exemptions. This was her putting in the work and proving she belonged. And honestly, that did more damage to the male ego. Now, of course, some people weren't happy about it. They questioned if a woman had any business competing against men on such a big stage. Now, one might think that the critics were afraid that she would win the game, which would obviously have a huge impact on golf. But Suzy didn't flinch. She was there to make sure of one thing: no sport belongs to one gender. The girl went into that tournament, despite the pressure, with her head held high. She didn't make the cut, but to be honest, her scorecard was not what amazed the public, it was the message she sent. That moment didn't just help her career, it set the stage for the future. More and more women started to see golf as their game too. Now, let's jump over to Annika Sörenstam, who also shook things up in 2003. Annika was already dominating the LPGA and completely owning it, but she wasn't satisfied as people don't take sports seriously. She wanted to prove to the world that her game was good enough to compete against the guys. So when she got an invite to the Bank of America Colonial, she was like, let's do this. This was the moment she had been waiting for years. However, not everyone was cheering her on though. Players like Vijay Singh weren't exactly rolling out the welcome mat, saying she should qualify like everyone else. But Annika wasn't there to make friends. She knew what she had to face while participating in the tournament. She teed off with laser focus and shot a respectable one over par 71 in the first round. Sure, she didn't make the cut, but she made her point crystal clear. Women could compete at the highest level, no questions asked. And even if some people grumbled, Annika's outstanding performance sparked a conversation the sport desperately needed. What's more interesting is that both Suzy and Annika made waves the same year, but in their own ways. Suzy fought her way in through competition, while Annika took an invite and turned it into a statement. Together, they didn't just play golf, they changed it forever. So, did Annika break down all the walls? Yes, she obviously did, but these walls are going to be rebuilt no matter how many times you break them, so, someone had to give it another go. And, well, it happened any by one and only Michelle Wie. Talk about a name that made headlines. From the time she was a teenager, Michelle was putting the golf world on notice. In 2004, at just 14 years old, she made waves by competing in her first PGA event. Now, that's some next level achievement. So, Michelle didn't just show up to be a participant, she was ready to prove she had what it took to compete with the big boys, or you should better say, uncles. And well, that clearly shows why she was making the headlines. So, in 2004, at the Sony Open, she shot a second round 68, the lowest score ever by a woman in a PGA Tour event at the time. Amazing, right? Well, she did miss the cut by one stroke, but that wasn't the big deal. The real story was the fact that she was putting up scores that had people question everything, especially men. The debates began to heat up. PLP started to ask if was Michelle just a novelty, or was she the real deal? Well, she went on to play in several more PGA events, trying to carve out a spot for herself in a world that wasn't exactly welcoming to women, and that struggle is what actually matters. You'd think after Michelle Wie, we'd seen it all, right? The youngest with the best score. But, well, I have to tell you, no, these women are not done yet. There is more to the story. Number 5, we have Brittany Lincicome. Well, in 2018, she participated in PGA, but it was not like, ouch, PGA, scary. It was more of something like, hold my beer, for her. Brittany, an LPGA champion, wasn't about to sit on the sidelines. She wanted to show the world that girls and boys can actually compete. So, what did she do? She played in the Barbasol Championship, becoming the 5th woman in history to compete in a PGA Tour event. The results? They weren't that perfect. She missed the cut after shooting a 6-over par 78, but well, she competed against the guys. That's also an achievement. At this point, what mattered was women pushing the boundaries. They showed the world that they should be treated equally, which was the actual success. And here we are in 2023 with none other than Lexi Thompson throwing her hat into the ring. Lexi is a huge name in women's golf, but she wasn't satisfied with just dominating the LPGA. She wanted more. Let's say you are always trying to prove yourself. Well, that was the same with Lexi, since she had already made her name in LPGA and she wanted more. That's when she got the idea of male PGA, and everyone was like, not a bad idea, girly. So, what did she do? Well, she competed in the 2023 Shriners Children's Open, becoming the 6th woman to ever play in a men's PGA event. And you know what? Lexi didn't just go out there and lie down. She shot rounds of 73 and 69, missing the cut by a mere 2 strokes. Astonishing. While some critics took aim at her for taking up a spot, the truth was clear. Lexi was out there to show the world that she wasn't just done. And even though she didn't make the cut, the story wasn't about the numbers. It was about the fact that she stood side by side with the men and held her ground. If that's not trailblazing, I don't know what is. And the list don't end here. There are many more in it, and the number will keep on increasing. So now these women have proven that golf isn't just a man's game. The question is, what's next for women in golf? Will we see even more women challenging the norms on the PGA Tour?